Rosalyne deserved to die, by the way.
Rosalyne did literally nothing wrong in her whole life.
Look, the problem with her dying was that in the main story, we met her 3 times. First time, she was evil. Second time, she was still kind of evil. And then the third time, she died. And so, like, it's hard to feel bad for her not knowing much about her. But, like, when you look at her backstory, it's like, oh, this is sad.
Yeah.
But, like, we didn't know that if you're following the main story. We didn't know how sad it was. So it was really, really weird. I actually had this conversation, like, yesterday. And that's how
She went too far.
It's our job to educate ourselves. And trust me, listen, I'm maybe a little biased, being a Conrian and all, but please point at the timeline where she did any wrong, kicking a derelict god in the nuts. Like,
whoa,
what has Venti done for anybody?
Better. Venti freed Vanessa and all of her people.
Yeah, after, like, they got enslaved.
Yeah, and he freed them. He woke up. He eventually got sober enough to do it and figure it out.
No, he did that drunk, for sure.
100%.
No, he just saw, like, a shindig going on in the square. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go do my thing.
I'm gonna go
More
eat an
apples.
apple. Yeah, an apple.
Listen, love the guy. Great to party with. Just like every other Archon, kind of did just jack for his country.
Yeah, all of them have done nothing.
He abandoned his dragon son and he fell in line with a bad crowd and started doing drugs. And that's just boggles the mind.
He's trying to keep it IRL for everybody.
He is. He keeps it real.
Real absentee dad.
Relatable, right? Come on.
That's not nothing.
I think where Rosalyne went wrong was just
Yeah.
leaving Sumeru
She
was
didn't
her
go
biggest
wrong.
mistake.
She never went wrong.
Falling in love was her
well,
mistake. Let's be real. She fell in love and then had her villain horror story come true. So
Yeah, men are the worst.
True.
Oh my god, I just saw the Barbie movies, so the Barbie movie. So yeah, I know men are the worst. I just learned this.
You put
Don't
your
worry, you
faith
are
in a
ken
wolf
enough.
knight, and then he goes and dies, and you're like, no one's doing anything about the monsters and stuff. So you use all your knowledge, all your expertise to become this Crimson Witch, and everyone just like witch shames you and drives you out of town. I mean, like, God forbid women do anything, right?
And then,
I
Burn a city down.
think.
and then she needed a man
Oh,
to
man.
come save her in the end. Freaking what's his name came and gave her the cryo delusion to save her. Like, she didn't even get to
Exactly.
have her moment.
When she became the queen of Icy Hot.
Oh my god.
Whenever
Queen
the
of
churls,
Icy Hot?
whenever the churls get into weeklies, we fight Senora. We chant icy hot, icy hot, icy hot.
You know what I have to say to that?
Mm.
Yayika.
Hmm?
Yayika.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the only Hilichurlian I remember.
I always thought it was pronounced Yayaika.
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah,
dang it!
yeah.
I like that. Yayika.
Yeah. I mean, we're speaking Hilichurlian right now is the crazy thing. You might not know it, but in the lore, if you do your research, you'll find out that Conria is America backwards.
Oh
What?
no.
So we're actually all speaking the ancient language. What do you know?
I'm proud of us.
Oh, so we know how it's gonna end for us then.
Oh yeah.
Oh god.
Oh,
I mean,
boy.
Okay.
I'm alright with it.
You're looking at a mirror of yourself.
No wonder why I don't
500
like
years in the
Kaya.
future. I can't say anything about that. I'll get canceled. They will shut us down and throw us off the chamber
You
balcony.
don't like Kaya?
I advise you to talk to my lawyer Yanfei about anything further regarding the matter.
Oh no. Okay, I have to meet up with her later.
To be fair, I'm open-minded. I have not done his hangout yet, and I
Oh.
love his drip.
Okay. Can I
His new drip is excellent.
listen? I was a #1 Kaya hater to the point where there was a Genshin zine that reached out to me on Twitter and said, "Hey, we would love to collaborate to like promote our zine on your show." And I said, "Oh, cool. Like, what's the zine about?" Because like, like I don't know if you guys like follow any Genshin zines, but
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
they
a
do
ton.
like
Amazing.
they always have like some like convoluted like title that like it you'd have to like be obsessed with the character to like get it right off the bat without seeing like any
Mhm.
images. And they're like, "Oh, it's a Kaya zine," and I was just like, "No."
What?
Yeah, I
No.
did.
Oh,
Now
they
I'm
should've
like,
come to
like,
Tales
you're
of
like,
Teyvat.
thank you for the opportunity. I will be leaving.
so I did Kaya's hangout, and now I'm building Kaya because he's a nice boy.
Kaya is
Good.
one of my favorite characters, and he is a main character in my fan fiction. So
Ooh.
I love
have
that
taken
for
a
you.
deep
I love
dive.
that for you all.
Listen,
Good luck
live
with
your truth.
that.
There's a blorbo for everyone in this game, and that's on purpose.
Beefy,
Beefy's like, as a Kainrian.
Mhm.
Beefy, I think your opinions will change when you do that.
I'm open
hangout.
to it. I'm absolutely open to it.
You are going to see a different side of Kaya that you have not seen yet.
We'll
You know
be
what? Maybe
waiting.
I'm just a little salty that he got to stay tall, and I'm out
yeah.
here like bringing booster seats to my desk.
There are a lot of questions about that, though. How did he get that lucky?
Yeah, how did he stay tall?
Mm.
These are the questions.
a little
Nobility,
sus.
privilege.
Privilege.
True. He lost an eye over it.
I lost my
Yeah.
face. I don't know what's under here.
I love Beefy's Hilitril cannon like life.
Oh yeah, the method acting.
So Beefy, how
I
did
don't
you
know.
get your electro powers, huh?
Well, I was actually born into one of those electro churl tribes. You know, we were just bumming around the UA. Funny story. That's actually how I ended up here in the Jade Chambers basement. It was kind of a mess.
Oh wow.
So one day my dad has this idea that he's going to teach me how to hunt. And I'm like, Dad, I am so freaking bad with a bow. Like, this is not going to go well. I guarantee it with you. And he's like, you know, oh no, Beefy, you got to get meat for the tribe. And all your brothers are out doing some BS. And so you got to come with me.
Throwing slimes.
Yeah. That's what I'm a slime thrower by trade. I'm like, dude, don't make me use the bow. But, you know, he's the Lawa churl of our tribe. So we got to do what
Yeah.
he says. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like,
New
all right,
tasks.
hit that boar 20 feet away. Don't, you know, do anything like flail wildly and hit that pyro slime that's like 50 feet
Dad.
away. And I'm like,
But Dad.
bet. So one overload later, I'm wiping my face off the deck of the Jade Chamber going, I told you, Dad. I get mail from him sometimes. He's doing fine.
Mail? Once a month on
it's
his
mostly
birthday?
like- It's like carved sticks.
His birthday's every month. wait, what?
But, you know, I wasn't cut out to be an archer. I was cut out to have long, in-depth, meaningless conversations about a live service gacha game.
Yeah.
So I'm really living my dream.
Same.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny whenever we should have established this rule as well. Are we cursing on this show? I think we decided that we were going to, but I'm not sure.
I'm trying to. I might have blown it. I give you
No,
full
you didn't.
license to bleep.
Okay, yeah, you didn't. But like, I
Thank
will
you.
say that my podcast is pretty family friendly.
Yeah, so is
Okay.
mine.
I would appreciate.
I
it
actually
if we-
inject a Hilitril ya over whoever curses. So
That is
Oh,
so
that's
cute.
That's so
Yeah.
good.
Beefy and I just aren't heard the
that's
entire
great.
time.
Go and edit that, then that's fine. But like,
oh God, please
uh,
don't make me.
don't give him more work.
I will have
Yeah.
to sit here with my
Yeah.
phone. Okay, yep, 16 minutes in, 16:30. Yep, 18, 20
Uh,
minutes.
Yep. Yeah.
That'll be the whole episode.
You
Yeah,
just don't
yeah.
hear some of us at all.
Yeah, I promise I'm not going to do my Eminem impression and just have you like speed censor a bunch of.
Now
you know,
listen, if
stuff.
it slips like a 1 or 2, like I'm okay with. Like that's fine.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Palms are sweaty, knees weak. Yeah, it's ready.
Vomit on the sweater already. Yeah, spaghetti.
Oh no.
Uh,
I'm good. I'm with Beefy. I'm doing my best.
You guys are probably wondering what is happening. Why has my regular weekly or seasonal podcast released this weird episode with 3 different people that I haven't heard of before? Or maybe you have. I don't know. I know some of my listeners listen to you guys. But basically, we are hosts, at least one of us, are hosts of a Genshin Impact podcast. And I think my show, I'm Dalton. I am the host of The Resonance, which is a weekly Genshin Impact podcast. And I think my show is probably closer to Genshin guys. But basically, on my podcast, we review news, talk about everything that's happening in the world of Teyvat, and give our thoughts on everything. Like we just recently did the 4.0 live stream breakdown, which is huge, and we're going to be talking about that But before we get into that, I do want to introduce my other co-host for this podcast. We're going to start with Trollman Beefy, who is the host of the Shade Chamber, a Genshin podcast.
Hello, I'm your Osmanthus Wine Aunt Beefy. Thank you so much for having me here, Dalton, as a delegate of the Shade Chamber Churlman of the board. I'm one of 5 hilly churls who lives in Ningguang's basement, and whenever the fancy strikes us, we make a podcast about Genshin. So, back in Conria, when we were still human, many of us worked in the game industry. We have AAA and indie experience, and have also just kind of trickled down into other aspects of the entertainment industry, of looking at the pop and fan cultures that surround games. And in those areas, Genshin is doing some really weird stuff that we've never seen before. And there just weren't that many people talking about it on that level. And so that's what we try to bring to the selection of Genshin podcasts.
Can you give us an example of like one thing, just to like give other listeners who haven't listened to your show yet?
Yeah. So we just finished up a 2-part collab with Chill with Aster, and talking about how game designers put mechanics into the game that fosters player retention. It's what keeps you coming back, and how you can combine character art, and certain expectations around character fandom to make your characters marketable. We really break down like what makes a Genshin Gacha character a sellable product, and look at the history of gaming and otaku culture that leads to that point. And but we're also just as happy to enjoy the game as fans on that kind of level too. We're really bad at lore, but we do love it. So you mentioned that the Resonance and Genshin guys, you guys are like the news podcasts. And this is going to sound like an excuse for our terrible release schedule, but we like to think of ourselves as the closers. We like to like really dive in deep to like this phase of Genshin, really have a curated discussion about it, and produce like a meaningful milestone for people who want to look back at Genshin's life. Because the thing about live service games is they're here and they seem ubiquitous, and then they're done, and you forget how they've changed and how they've grown and how they've changed the industry and the culture around them. And so that's what we want to chronicle in the Shade Chamber. We also throw a lot of shade, hence the name.
I like it. Josh is also with us. He is the host, or one of the hosts, of the Genshin Guys podcast. How are you, Josh?
Hey, what's up, everyone? My name is Josh, also known as J-Side. I am a voice actor, Twitch streamer, and I do host, with my co-host Kahi, the Genshin Guys podcast. So I also actually co-host another podcast called Coffee and Culture. And where
right
we
on. Yeah, those guys are great.
Yeah, and we interview like other content creators. Like I've interviewed Ashikai, Teyvat Historia. Actually a couple days ago, I interviewed Subutai, the guy that makes the cinematic Genshin, like what if Genshin were a movie trailer sort of like really cool
awesome.
I've seen
videos.
them.
Yeah, he's really great. He's all the way in the UK, but like we do collabs with those kind of people. But on the Genshin Guys podcast, which is my main podcast, the one that I produce and write, we are family friendly, and we talk about kind of everything in Genshin. It kind of depends on what's happening, but we do news every week. We talk about our weeks and our experience with Genshin. But one thing I like to do is make like interactive content. So we will do like quizzes and like lore quizzes, or like I'll play a bunch of voice lines. I'll play voice lines from a character in each of the 4 languages, like English, Japanese, Chinese, and Korean. And then people will guess, like, you know, like who has this like vibe? Like, can you tell who the character is, even though you cannot understand their language? And so stuff like that, like fun interactive stuff where like you can come in and hang out with us and guess with us. Like I'll quiz my co-host will quiz me, and at the end you guys can see how much you get right. But then I'll extend a lot of that stuff, interactive stuff, to Twitch as well. So that is really fun. But yeah, we pretty much talk about anything and everything Genshin, and we also release weekly. So thanks for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. So you will play the actual voice lines like in the show?
Yeah.
That's awesome, because the closest thing that we do is we'll read reviews in characters' voices, and it is blasphemy. It is.
That
it
sounds
is-
so
It
great.
is terrible for us, and I guess people like it, but yeah, it's really bad. Like, don't ask me to do
But I
another
love
Klee
that.
voice. I swear, please.
I'm going to
That's
write my
awesome.
review right now.
Oh God. Okay. Like,
I mean, what are podcasters but cringe by proxy? People
Sure.
love us to take the heat for them.
someone made us rap in Hu Tao's voice, a rap that they made.
I
Oh
saw
my God,
that.
that's
It was
amazing.
That's sick.
Yeah. Fiends is also with us. She is from the Tales of Teyvat podcast. How are you, Fiends?
Good. Thank you so much for having us all together. I'm Fiends or Amanda, and I'm 1/4 of Tales of Teyvat, and we are a Genshin lore podcast. So we release weekly, and every week we take a deep dive into a different topic, whether that be a character, a place, a storyline, or an event. Recently, we went through the entire Suspedo event, so no one has to necessarily sit down and watch it. But we've
Mm.
done...
Amogus.
Yeah.
Nice. I missed that event.
Oh my god, it was I'm a big Albedo stan, so it was a very important event in my life, my entire life. But
He rules. Albedo's great, and Koi Dao is a treasure.
oh my god, Koi
I
is
love
a
Koi Dao.
national treasure. Like, he needs to be protected at all costs.
He is a meme fiend.
Yes. And a
Oh my God,
Heizo lover.
Nicolas Cage comes in and steals him.
That is
No,
fine.
oh my, I
Ooh.
would fight Nick Cage so quick.
No, but then
He-
they team up.
But yeah, we do every week a different topic. So we've done actually an episode about Kaya Albridge. We've done one about D-Luke, Suspedo event, Dragon Spine. So we take a deep dive. And like I said, I'm one of 4 hosts, and everyone kind of has their niche and what they really enjoy. And we bring that to the table, and we try to get as much of the lore out as we can. Although sometimes we get stuck on topics like how much I love Albedo. So it happens.
What is one piece of information that somebody probably doesn't know about Dragonspine? Not to put you on the spot.
No,
but I'm
no.
putting you on the
Well,
spot.
Dragon Spine used to be green. It's actually originally the ancient kingdom nation, whatever you want to call it, of Salvinur. And Salvinur was actually a beautiful, prosperous place where people escaped Decarabian, Carbian, however you want to say it. And they were trying to live their best life out there. And they had this terrible prophecy come down where there was a priestess who lived there, and she could see the future, and she would make these beautiful, like, drawings on the wall, and they would tell the future of what was going to happen. So she saw their downfall coming before the Sky Nail came.
The nail.
Oh, yeah.
Don't get nailed.
I know, everywhere.
Nailed it.
Nail.
Oh boy, here we go. The dad jokes are coming right now.
Oh,
The
no
dad
end
puns.
in sight. My co-host Wander, his favorite ancient civilization is Solving Dagnir.
It's amazing. And there's so much still to learn about it. Like, where did they all go? I know most of them died. You know, there's a few of them somewhere
Oh,
still living to this day.
so we did a bonus episode where like we covered lore, and then I would quiz my other co-host on the episode, and it's so funny because like he would do terrible like right after we got done talking about it.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh my God.
And I didn't,
Like, how much were you paying attention, right?
basically, yeah. And the one thing that I never even like put together is that huge like cryo lolchurl that's like right by the tree.
Oh, the named one?
Yeah,
Is it named?
like that was actually a person in the lore that we covered, and I didn't even like put 2 and 2 together. I can't remember its name, but it's someone like in the lore of the actual story of Dragonspine.
I believe it's Uko.
Yes, Uko. Yes,
Yeah.
which I thought was like wild, and I didn't even know that. Like, I went to Dragonspine that day, and I was like walking around reading stuff, and then I was looking stuff up on the wiki.
You were like dot dot dash dot dash dot.
Yeah, yeah, basically.
Reading stuff in Dragonspine like dot dot dash
Yep.
dot dash.
And that's like the thing about Genshin is they leave breadcrumbs everywhere. Like, they are the Hansel and Gretel of video games. And you can find so much hidden lore by reading, and no one wants to read. I'll admit it. I don't want to read
No one
all the
can read.
artifacts.
Mhm.
Yeah, no one can really read it, and everyone gets too excited. So if you actually take that deep dive, you realize how much time and effort they've put into developing the lore and the game and putting those little breadcrumbs everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's incredible, right? Because you have the story, which is like what the narrative that we experience, but then you have the lore, like about the world in which it's happening, and like all those books and things, and like even the little details, like after the Sumeru Archon quest, where everything changed regarding Lesser Lord or Greater Lord Rukadavada, like the books changing too. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
something
that
you
was
don't
crazy.
know unless you're paying attention
Mhm.
to the lore and the things that provide lore information in the world. And they just do it so well.
Have
Right.
any of you
honestly.
guys played the Souls games or the Soulsborne like genre of games? They were kind of the ones to like really bring that philosophy of storytelling where it's like we're gonna hide little nuggets of intrigue in item descriptions, in the way we place items in the overworld relative to different things in the environment. And Genshin, like well, the Souls games obviously that led to an explosion of lore hounds who just absolutely love digging up this content. Genshin took that format and then it adds to it every 5 weeks.
Yep. True.
It's like
Yeah.
popcorn. It's crazy.
Yep.
It's so interesting. You're right, because if you play Dark Souls or any of those games and you don't look at the lore, you literally have no idea what's going on. Like you're just fighting boss after boss after boss, and it's like, who are you people?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. It's like, well, you didn't read the flavor text on this hat, so
right.
you don't know who the real Elden Lord is. You know?
Wasn't Elden Ring like based off of a anime or a manga?
No, it's original, and it was like actually partially written with J.R.R. Tolkien, I think. No,
George
not
R.R.
J.R.R.
Martin,
Tolkien.
yeah.
George R.R. Martin. Yeah, I always make
Yeah,
those
but it
two
has
up,
heavy
obviously, for obvious
influence
reasons.
from what's it called?
Berserk.
Berserk,
Berserk is
yes.
like the
Yeah.
big. It's not
Wait,
based
really?
on
Yeah.
that, but
I
there
didn't know
are
that.
Berserk nods like all
Mhm.
throughout the Souls trilogy.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
the director Miyazaki. That was like his favorite manga growing up.
that manga
No.
is dark.
It's
very
dark, but it's gorgeous. Like
Yeah.
It is.
And I think they
they'll
actually have a
just
sword
have
in the
guts
game.
armor in it.
They have a sword from
Yeah.
the game in there too.
So funny story. The director of the Souls series, Hidetaka Miyazaki, his favorite stuff growing up was Berserk, but also reading Western fantasy novels that were translated into Japanese. But he, as a kid, and also the way they were translated, it kind of left a lot of stuff out, and he didn't quite understand what was going on. So, but this idea of Western fantasies being vague and cryptic and not having like a through story was an influence on him, and how
That's
the way
so
he tells the
interesting.
lore in the Souls games.
That is so funny.
I love those like translation based like stories. Those are great.
Yeah, it's like it's not just the story; it's the way he experienced it. This janky Japanese translation. No, I think he just ignored it and he fell back on like the vibes that he had reading it like as a kid. He's like, okay, like I don't need to understand it. It's more fun when we make this kind of the
Yeah.
mystery.
He's like, actually, I enjoyed it when I didn't know what was going on.
That's like
that
to
kind
be
of
fair,
thing.
that's everything in life, right? Like everything when you were a
Exactly.
kid, you enjoyed
Oh.
it like so much more.
Yeah.
There's an art to leaving things just vague enough where people start guessing, but not so
Mhm.
vague that they get frustrated and give up. And Genshin and the Dark Souls series hit that like perfectly.
Yeah, they fall right
The
into that
sweet spot.
pocket.
Mhm.
2 games, normal people or normal players of each probably wouldn't think like had that much of like a connection.
Yeah, definitely.
They love Dark Souls and Genshin. Remember that that Sangonomiya event that had that instanced Sangonomiya with the big knights and stuff?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much Dark Souls. Genshin
When-
wears its inspirations on its sleeve, which is kind of insane, but also really fun.
You know what also does that? Destiny 2, because my podcast
Yeah.
co-host, he plays Destiny 2. Like Genshin and Destiny 2 are like his 2 games. And so like every other week or every week or every time we're talking about a new event, he'll be like, you know, it's actually funny because Destiny's also doing this thing. And he has this headcanon that the like the Hoyoverse people and the Destiny 2 people, the Ideas people are just sitting at a table and they're just like, yeah, let's just do that this week. Like, because he keeps finding these parallels. And like, I don't play the game, but I used to play it. And
Mhm.
they're totally different games. Like, you know, they're completely different in every way. Like, it's a first-person shooter MMO, and you know, then there's Genshin, and it's like so funny that some of these games they'll take the inspiration and then they'll turn it into like their own thing that fits in their game.
Yeah.
And I think
Exactly.
Genshin just
Yeah.
does what it does so
It's
well.
like people write what they know and they write what they love, and that's the same with game design as well. And so when these huge, like, you know, cultural milestones hit, you know, like your Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild, Elden Ring, like everyone sits up and takes notice and gets a little bit of that inevitably in anything that they make. And it's always
Yeah.
fun to kind of go back and read the inspirational kind of path. Genshin, for instance, is very not shy about telling you that they played Nier Automata. right down to the dash animation your character does when they run, and the fact that their weapons float on their back.
Oh my god, I love Nier Automata. It's
It
like
is
one
my
of my top 5
favorite
games.
game. And so when they're like,
oh,
did you know that the Hilly Trills are people? I was like, yeah, because I played Nier, and I know you did too.
when's Emil gonna show up?
Give me my boy. Give me my baby
yeah.
boy.
So I was the only one who was just completely caught off guard when I realized that they were actually people.
Okay, so the thing, I don't know, you guys like especially because I would consider myself more of like a lore enjoyer / enthusiast, not so much a theorist. And I don't go deep dive, but I go deep enough to like try to understand the meaning behind a lot of the things we see in game. And so Hilichurls, like, is it? I remember reading that it wasn't 100% confirmed, but were there Hilichurls already, and the Kyrian people got turned into Hilichurls, or are all Hilichurls Kyrian people?
I think it's all.
That's a good question.
Are Conrian, from what I could tell, because it seems
I think
that
they're all Conrian.
And we're caught.
The big boy was from Sylvandagnir.
But he could have been from Conria, right?
Well, the whole thing is like, if you were a pure blood Conrian, you got cursed with eternal life. That hence Clotar and everything like that. But if you weren't from Conria originally, you became a Hilichurl. So it would make sense if that guy up on Dragonspine had actually run away to Conria, like when the nation dissolved.
Well, he ran in the wrong direction.
Yeah, they just didn't know it, because they mentioned that when they were running out of the door or wherever they were going, because I can't believe that they just have one door to Conria.
Oh yeah, the door, right?
Yeah.
Like, do the ruin golems go through that door? Because they're pretty big. Like, where did they come from?
They turn into a Tony Stark suitcase kind of a thing.
Oh my
Yeah,
god!
sunglasses.
Like, Ant-Man runs away.
Yeah.
But they say that, like, people, when they went through these gates and they went through these doors, leaving Conria, were seeing themselves turning into monsters. And some of them chose to stay. So they were like, I'm not taking my chances in turning into a monster. I'm turning right back around into Conria. So I'd like to believe that no one had seen a Hilichurl before. At least based on the Conrian side of it.
So there's people in Conria who are just, like, holed up in there? That's it?
There might be, but they're fighting off those abyssal monsters that Gold, called forward, and she's crazy, so I don't trust her.
Oh God, Gold.
Aren't there Hilichurls in Sangonomiya, though? So there must be, like, little leaks.
Yeah.
Little openings that spill out into Conria.
Well,
beyond just the big capital
that the
door.
Kyrian people kind of got around, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
There was, like, a lot of Kyrian blood that diffused through the world, and those people ended up turning into Hilichurls at some point.
I think
Bummer.
too that one of my co-host Brandon always talks about the fact that there was this, like, unified kingdom that was around back during the time of Conria, or maybe right before Conria, and it was kind of like when the Dragon Sovereigns were first, like, defeated, and the Primordial One brought people here, and blah 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 blah, that major backlore. But I would think a lot of these underground places are connected, because in our Sangonomiya lore, we learned that Conria showed up looking for the Of Sun and Moon book when they were trying to, like, prove whether or not the gods were real and everything like that. So I would like to believe that they're kind of all on the same level underground and that they have easy access to each other. So I think you're right. Like, there might be another door or something near Sangonomiya that they kind of fled to.
That checks out.
I think
we're
there's
all just a bunch of little ant
doors.
farms.
Oh, Sangonomiya is, like, one of the darkest areas in Genshin I think I've ever, like, had to, like, read lore for.
Oh,
crazy.
It's the Sun Children?
Oh, God.
Like,
I was just like, wait, this exists? How dare someone say I'm playing a child's game?
You'll notice that, like, the more of a tent pole, like, a piece of lore or a story is, like, as you move away from, like, the Archon quest, the character quests, into world quests, into, like, specific area world quests, they get weirder, because I think that, like, they have to be less controversial when they're the centerpiece of your update, they're voiced and stuff.
Right.
But, like, the world update, like, people can just go nuts in there. We can have, like, the Sun Children and the, it's just
the story
the crazy
of Rue.
human experiments in Rue.
Oh my god, yeah, Kale's entire story, like...
So, I think, so I don't know if this is, like, a good segue or whatever, but, like, on the topic of Kale's, like, backstory and everything, and I'm sure I'm not the only one here who has been, like, screaming at the game when bring her like in Mondstadt or bring her and Amber together and they don't like even touch on like a fragment of what she's been through. But I know that they've mentioned, Hoyoverse at least has mentioned that they're going to somehow bring back, or they're working on bringing back events that were playable so that people can experience them.
Right.
And so I thought that since, you know, the Traveler is someone who's experienced all these things pretty much, that they do like an Animal Crossing where like you could go to a bed and go to sleep, and then like you'd have a menu where you would like basically dream that event.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely different ways they can implement
Sure.
it, but it would just be nice for them to implement it.
But man,
They're gonna have to, because they keep putting lore in limited time events that go
Right.
away.
yeah.
I mean, Albedo. Like,
Yeah, literally,
the
Albedo's
biggest
entire
case
story.
of this.
No,
Yeah, his
that's not the
entire
biggest case.
backstory.
The biggest case is Scaramouche.
Oh yeah, the
No,
very
I
first
don't know.
event.
I don't I don't think that much, because like the thing is, like, imagine it like this. We got like a tiny preview of like Scaramouche, who he is, and like what his character is kind of about. Only a little bit. Like, it was very tiny. And then he shows up in the Archon quest, and then we like learn everything about him. But then like, if Albedo was to show up in the Archon quest and just imply everything that happened in his events, and the like to a player who didn't play that event, it would literally make no sense. Like, you don't need to have played 1.1 to like appreciate Scaramouche's as a character as he goes throughout the story. But like with Albedo, they'd have to either tell you it all again, or they'd have to like that make you basically let you replay it or something, because
you get that
it
pop
was
up.
so much story.
That's super fair. Yeah, here's Albedo.
one little
he's,
pop-up?
He's super
Yeah.
important for the late game plot. And
He gets like
blah, blah,
8
blah, blah, blah.
pop-ups. But I think
Yeah,
1.1.
you have to tab through them one by
tab through
one.
them. I think that 1.1 is important just story-wise, because that's when you learn that the sky isn't real.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely an important event
Yeah.
overall, but I think for Scaramouche specifically,
Yeah, it's not
Like,
the most for him.
it's not the most for his character development, but it is important for him that he knows that the sky is fake, and that he was onto it, and that he's like a agent of chaos, and like all this stuff. Like, that part is really important. But
What I think is interesting too, though, is that like in the one event, because I didn't play back then, but in the one event, I remember
Mhm.
watching a video of Scaramouche like rolling up onto the Traveler for the very first time,
Yeah.
and Mona sees him, and instantly like the switch is flipped, and she instantly like teleports them like away.
Right.
She's
and,
screaming
like,
bad
yep.
vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was
instant
literally
fail
about to
the vibe
murder the
check.
Traveler.
Insta failed.
Yeah. So,
Where's your Capacha verification, Scaramouche?
oh,
And Fischl's also introduced in that event initially too. And Fischl, while not my favorite character, is one of the most ridiculous characters in the whole game. She makes me
I love
laugh
Fischl.
so much.
Another character I used to hate.
my queen of cringe.
She's
Yeah.
literally like a theater kid who didn't have
She
to
is
grow up.
such a theater kid. Oh my god.
Oh wait, we didn't even talk about when we did introductions who's everybody's favorite character was.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
let's go.
Yoimiya.
All right,
Good
why
taste.
though? Why? Like, I mean, we all know why.
She's the only one who cares. Okay.
That's not true. That's not
She's
true.
the only one who cares. Look,
Look,
how
yes!
many characters have asked you, "Hey, how's your journey going? Oh, you met your sibling. I hope you I hope you
It's
figure that out."
true.
No, no
there's-
one.
no, there
Everybody
is,
comes
there
down with
is.
their own problems.
Fiend, back me
Yoimiya
up.
is wife material.
What, Albedo? I mean, Albedo knows that we're not. I don't know if he cares, to be honest.
There are other characters though that have asked us about our sibling or how our journey is going finding our sibling.
Oh, like who?
Off the top of my head, I don't know their names.
Ningguang asks you about your sibling only if you're playing the guy, because you told her that you have a sister, and
Okay.
that's just because she's gay.
Yeah,
Oh,
true, very true.
That's so good.
If you're Ether and her birthday present to you is like, here's some silks for you to make an outfit for yourself. Here's another bolt of silks for you to make some for your sister when she gets back. If you're Lumine, she just gives you the silk for you.
She's
Oh my
like,
God,
And you're like,
Why
I have a
on
brother
earth?
born on the same day. And she's like, who?
I mean,
What
I
the
guess
heck?
I feel like
What a
I
weird
feel like
thing.
Sino.
Sino cares.
Yeah, I was
He's a
gonna say
good boy.
Sino's definitely asked us how we are. He cares.
Yeah, so he can make a pun and dunk on
I
us.
know, literally.
It still counts. It still counts.
But Yoimiya does care. She is a sunshine in a pool of scariness in Inazuma.
Yeah.
She is a perfect, sweet, wonderful girl. And speaking of a pool of darkness, my favorite character is, of course, Mom
Kaya.
of the Year and Big Purple Disaster, Raiden A.
Oh,
The literal opposite of wife material and someone that you should just kind of stay 400 miles away from at any given time. She needs
No.
therapy. She needs a
She needs
slap
a
in the face
lot.
and a hug.
she needs dongos. That's what she needs.
Yeah,
she
it
needs
can
a
do it
lot.
all. She can do
Yep.
war crimes. She can eat
Tricolored
sweets.
dongo.
She can fail at being a mom twice. Anyway, I love
True.
her so much. I think I'm really biased because, like, look, I've been a weeb for a long time, and I think I've waited for like such a crunchy female character.
To just pull a sword out of her chest.
I mean, yeah, there's Boobasaur. I mean, sure, on that level, amazing, flawless. But like, how rare it has been to have like anime-esque media where we get this multifaceted female character like this. Like she's so strong and hot and majestic, but she's also a complete mess and just an absolute disaster and totally tragic. Her high highs and low lows just combine to make her this wonderfully complex mess of a god, and I love her so much. Also, I did a video that theorized her true form is a shoe yokai. You can check that out on our YouTube.
A shui yokai. I like that take.
I like it.
Because what is lightning but a chancla from heaven?
Mhm.
What language do you guys play the game in?
English.
Like the voices.
English. I dip
Everybody
into
English?
all of them sometimes because I get bored with the overworld quotes.
Right,
All the
right,
dubs
yeah.
are great.
Because Raiden's voice actress is my favorite female Japanese voice actress.
Mm.
Oh,
so, like,
really?
I have
Yeah.
this like huge like bias to just use her as much as possible and to listen to every one of her voice lines.
Oh, is that
So-
Miyuki Sawashiro?
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh
no
my
doubt.
God.
She's a queen. I just like I don't like the different tone reads between A and the Shogun. Like
Mm.
I like the
Oh,
ones
yeah. where
where it's more of the tone than a different character voice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
you know, she does great for that like style of character.
I play English
Yeah, it's
English
like-
just so I can like do other things while I autoplay cutscenes sometimes.
Right. I
Autoplay
mean, so like
cutscenes.
I'll do that too
Mhm.
if I want to just like have it on in the background because I'm actually I play mainly Asia account, so I'm playing through it on NA also, and so because I played through it in Japanese, I'm playing through it in English also to learn the voice actors on my
Mhm.
NA account.
Ooh,
So-
how do you like getting
so-
those version updates like 11 hours ahead of NA?
Oh, I mean that's fun. Like, it only applies to like the mid patch update because
Oh.
like
Mm.
if it like the actual big like 4.0 will drop at the same time for everybody,
Yeah.
That makes sense.
but like the banner switch will happen earlier on the Asia server.
Oh.
So what's
So
it
you're
called?
test
Oh,
dummies.
and so yeah, well, basically
Another test subject.
Another test.
another test subject. What is it? So mine's Yoimiya. Beefy's is Raiden, A, and what are your guys?
Fiend, go ahead.
Well, my favorite character is Albedo, but I also very much feel
right.
a kinning for Tignari. So it's between
Oh.
them. I love both of
Kinning.
them. I know. The first time I said that to my friend, she was like, "What's that?" I was like, "Oh," I was like, "I'm sorry."
I just took the kin quiz like just before this podcast, and I got Kazuha.
Aw,
And I think it's pretty accurate.
I love that.
Personality quiz.
You
thing.
have to send that
Oh,
to
those are
us.
fun.
I want to
Mhm.
take that.
Has anyone else done? Oh, okay. You haven't done like the personality quiz.
No, I haven't either.
Not yet.
Aw.
Yeah, I'll send you this specific one. They worked really hard on it. They said.
They said, I like that.
That'll be fun to compare notes.
What about you, Dalton?
Real quick, Tignari has one of my favorite voice lines ever, and it's when he's in the desert.
Oh, even a
what does he
mist
say?
flower would melt in this heat. Well, maybe it wouldn't, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, so good. Yeah.
That one?
Oh,
He's
I
so
like. They're standing in my shoes.
Aw,
Al Haitham. Like,
he hates it. Dude, everyone in Sumeru has the attitude of someone who works a customer facing job and is just so tired of everyone and everything. And I'm
Except
like,
for Nilu.
oh, yeah, no, Nilu's liberal arts. She's just doing her, she's vibing.
yeah.
Everyone else is just like, oh my God, I cannot take people anymore.
My favorite character is, I feel so like weird saying it now because of how popular he's gotten, but Sino. This
I
is
know. So good.
No,
He's
that's like-
fantastic.
this is back when like they released that trailer and they showed like a couple characters from each nation. I say
Mhm.
a couple, but
Yeah.
like in
Mhm.
reality it
No,
was only
yeah.
one. But Fontaine was the only outlier
The
in that
twins.
because of Linny and Lynette. So, but yeah, once I saw Sino in that trailer, I was just like, he looks cool. Anubis mask wearing cool boy. I want him. And
Oh yeah.
I went through the game honestly, and like I don't even know if I said this before, but I didn't like Genshin when I first played it, and I just like quit it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
And then-
wow.
Oh,
Mhm.
Yeah, and then I came
Same.
back. And
they always come back.
yeah, and playing through, I was just like, that is the character I want. Like I thought I would wail on that character, and then I realized like actually like that was probably when I first started playing, and I was like, oh wait, I
Mhm.
can't wail because I'm poor. So I dolphin.
Ah, yes, the
Mood.
truth.
Yeah,
it always
Every
hurts.
day.
I dolphined on Sino, and like I don't know, even like in every single cinematic, like I just love his look. His animations are great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just a character I was super excited for. But yeah, really like Sino.
Did
he
you?
has such a great personality too.
Oh, yeah. Like, and they've highlighted it so much recently, like with the
Yeah.
wind bloom and everything.
Mhm.
But I like personally, I usually go for like tan-skinned, white hair characters. Like
So
those are
good.
just the kind
Sure.
of characters that I'm like super always interested to see what they're
So
about.
Gabimaru.
So Scar from Full Metal
Yeah.
Alchemist. So what's it called? And so I love Dia also, but she doesn't have white hair. But
Yes.
so Sino, I saw Sino and I thought the exact same thing. I was like, this character, I love this character. I can't wait till this character comes out. And then he was a teen male model, and I was like, if he was the tall one, the tall model, and it's like a weird like psychological, like I didn't do it on purpose. Like I love Sino. He's still like one in my top characters, but like I feel like if he was a tall male model, I would have like dedicated my account to him. Like
Totally
that's
get
just
it.
like
Mm-hmm.
a weird thing.
They go out
Yeah.
of their way in his trailer too to be like, oh, he's just a kid. Like when he shows up in the trailer for the first time, when the academia scholars like hiding from him, so they really want you
Mhm.
to be like that. He's young, which is
Yeah.
interesting too.
Young,
because
young and scary.
and it's interesting because he's actually one of the first characters you see outside of Mondstadt because he's in the manga.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Your idea of what Sumeru is going to be going
right
into the
off
game.
the bat.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, that to be a
The
scary
desert.
place.
And it
Oh,
is
man.
because it's full of student loans.
The
Student
true
Oh
loans
horror.
and
god,
Yu-Gi-Oh.
Sumeru's America. Oh my god.
And Yu-Gi-Oh!
Student
And
loans
Yu-Gi-Oh!
and
Dude,
Yu-Gi-Oh!
we did a whole episode about breaking down how Sumeru City is actually a cyberpunk college town where like everyone's staying up trying to get their essays done. They're playing Yu-Gi-Oh! When they should be sleeping. They're pounding coffee. Like they're falling into weird little student clubs and getting brainwashed and stuff. They're butting heads with the faculty.
And they're locking their god in a dungeon.
They're
Yeah,
locking their
Liz-
god in the dungeon. They're on the internet all day. Just
Layla's climbing
this
walls.
was me. I did this.
Did you guys know the Yu-Gi-Oh theme song in English? Like the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I imagine like it's time to default on our student loans.
No.
Oh my god, they have student loans in Yu-Gi-Oh! Sumeru, boom, in a box. I love
Mhm.
it.
Oh god, do you think they send Sino after kids who default on their student loans?
Definitely.
Oh my
100%.
god,
That would be
they
so
definitely
messed up.
do. Oh,
That's
that
why
is
he
so
was
messed up.
researching Tignari.
He's like, I'll give you a chance for me to not kill you with a duel.
Yes.
He has to play. They have to play for their lives. Oh my
Ugh.
god.
Sino the cringe dad. Embarrassing
Literally.
his family. Catching perps. Yeah, because
Everywhere
there's that
he
one
goes.
girl who works at the restaurant and she's like, I'm doing this to pay my tuition. And I'm also a full-time student. I'm just like, oh
You're
no.
like, relatable content. I remember those
Right.
days.
Next you're gonna tell me about how hard it is to find parking.
It's like I thought it was based around like areas in the Middle East, but it turns out there's a little bit of America in there too.
Yeah.
It's like they took it straight out of my life.
Oh no.
I'm in this picture, I don't like it. This is just a breakfast burrito away from being my college life.
Instead, you get pita pockets.
I mean, they have pita pockets. Yep. They have
The
pita
most
pockets.
college kid thing is when Collie drops her pita pockets on the floor and it's like, well, they're still wrapped. I'll get
That's
it's so real. What the hell?
5-second rule.
I love Kale, by the way. Like,
Ale is such a good, sweet girl. Living her best life after living her worst life.
I really hope, though, Dalton, you were talking earlier about how, like, they kind of dropped, like, the dark side of her story, and I really hope they bring that back and they come into that more, especially, you got to assume that Dodore is going to come back.
Mhm.
I mean, don't forget that Sucrose has her breath in a bottle.
I know, that's
we
a
can
little
forget
creepy,
about that.
and sometimes I think that that's Dodore and not Sucrose with her breath in a bottle.
Don't say that, no, because they had such a wonderful scene together. I don't want that to be invalidated.
But after that, Dottore murdered her and then took her place.
That's exactly what happened.
Don't, that's the only reason why I like Sucrose. Because she's good friends with
Because
Kale.
she's Dottore?
No.
She's
Oh, God.
No.
Well, we'll work on that theory, but like, me and the Churls have this idea that like we're gonna do a double track around Teyvat. Like all of these regions have kind of hanging story stuff that has to still be resolved, and we're
Mhm.
hoping that the next go around is gonna be darker.
Yeah.
You know, in Inazuma, they're not at peace. That's a ceasefire, and they keep reminding you of that, and it's still kind of chafingly bad for the Watatsumi people.
Yeah, Kokomi during the TCG event was very, like, not happy. Like, she seemed
Mhm.
very
Oh, yeah, for
down
sure.
and not okay. Like, I'm just playing cards to make peace. And I was like, wait, you're playing cards to make peace? I think some other things have to happen here.
Listen,
Wow,
she
it
got her
sounds like a
strategy
Yu-Gi-Oh!
from reading light
plotline.
novels. So, you know.
That's so true.
Kokomi pool chair general Sangonomiya. Then like Liyue still has no god, and like the whole thing about Celestia, right, is that they enforce this Archon system, and that's how they kind of keep the surface civilizations of Teyvat in check. So it is really weird that they've just kind of like let Zhongli have his Sweet 16 funeral, and then like no one has stepped up to, you know, they haven't put in like a new middle manager.
Well, I think, like, the Hida suggests, I think that Celestia is asleep. I think those gods are resting after whatever they did to Conria. They just haven't had something bad enough happen to wake them up and skynail everything yet.
They're waiting. They got that nail gun poised. And
yeah, literally.
and for Mondstadt, Albedo still needs to destroy it. And
No,
That's gonna be fun.
no,
he's got to deliver. He
Suspedo.
promised.
No, he promised. No,
He promised. He said that he would try to destroy Mondstadt, and I'm like, do it.
So on the topic of the next part of the story getting darker, how do you think everything in Fontaine's going to roll out?
I actually think Fontaine's going to be the most clown shoes region. I think it is going to be super wacky.
Yeah, especially with
Really?
those
Why do you
different
say that?
energy systems they have going on.
I think there's
Oh, you mean with the arc energy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arc, the
There's
Numa
a-
and the Oisa.
there's a lot of expectations when you make a region based on France, because France just has these stacks of tropes associated with it, and it's almost kind of like when you know France is coming up, you're gonna have a good time, right? That's what they did in Dragon Age Inquisition with Orlais. That's what they did with the DLC, the Blood and Wine expansion for The Witcher. It's like, oh man, it's France. It's gonna have French stuff. It's gonna have French people who are very extra. It's gonna have all these
Baguettes.
like cultural illusions. It's gonna have
It's gonna
baguettes.
have baguettes.
Dude, we better get a joke weapon that's just a baguette. We better.
Yeah,
Oh
we
my-
have
we have a
a
fish,
fish. We
Oh,
need
so-
a baguette.
we
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah, we have to put the fish in some bread.
It's very plausible.
Oyo does not understand the assignment if they don't give us a baguette.
Or they just want to troll us that hard. They could do it.
Yeah.
I have faith in them.
Oh, every day. It's like that.
So I'm under the impression that when we get to Fontaine, obviously we are the one. Like this is our trial, right?
Mm.
Like
Oh yeah,
we are being judged.
we're gonna become
basically.
the number one enemy again for the 4th time.
Yeah, it sounds like we're gonna be framed maybe too for this.
Mr. Worldwide.
Child, yes. Sorry, got excited.
Is this me reaching too far? Because this is kind of what I preach on my show, at least. That the Archons don't want to be under Celestia.
Yeah.
Right.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
So
They're over it.
yeah, and
Hate it.
I feel like they each find their own like loophole almost to get rid of their gnosis.
Mhm.
Right. Like a big fan theory of ours is that, you know, Venti gave it up.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, I got kicked on the ground. Don't take it, please. But really wanted it gone.
Ooh. It was
I
like
agree.
wrestling. It was a staged. Like,
Yeah.
he took a
So And there's other things, right? Like, don't tell me that Raiden Shogun couldn't have stopped or prevented it from leaving, because you were all eternity until your puppet son came into the picture, right? And then what happened with basically
Nico, right?
Zhongli
Gave
was
it
just
to-
like, here you
Here you
go,
go.
bye. Like,
Yeah, with his
I'm
I'm
contract.
retiring.
I'm retiring.
right. And then Nahida gives it for information, and you can argue that, you know, Nahida gave up her gnosis for information, and that maybe Celestia didn't really care, or like you said, they could be asleep, which I've never even heard of, by the way.
Oh, really?
But like, you could argue that she gave it up, and, you know, Celestia's just like, oh well, she gave it up to stop the Dottore who works for the Sarista, who is who we think, or at least my show thinks, that Shesnaya is like the enemy of our enemy, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
Right,
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think Fontaine is going to be completely different, and I think that what's his name? Nouvelette? Is that his name?
Nouviette.
Yeah.
Nouviette? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ignore my bad French from.
Oh, we're gonna,
Pardon my
I
French.
cannot wait for us to all do the podcast
Yeah.
and just blow all the French pronunciations. It's gonna be
Out the
amazing.
window.
Yeah. So, fun fact about that is the English closed captioning for the live stream was like broken.
Oh, no.
Oh, really?
So I chose to have French CCs on because I can actually understand some of it.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
But yeah, I still couldn't really remember, like,
it's still
read
French.
anything. Yeah. That's like our podcast like take, is that Nouvier is just not going to be down with us whatsoever, and we are on trial for everything that we've done so far, because basically Celestia still has their hand in his pocket.
Oh, for
They are
yeah.
directly
If
under
any
Celestia,
Archon, if any Archon or the people in power are going to be Celestia bootlickers, it's going to be the ones in the Nation of Justice. 100%.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and aren't
And
they,
I
like,
think the
directly
Archon just-
underneath them, like underneath Celestia. Like, isn't Celestia supposed to be above Fontaine?
It's supposed to be very close, I believe. Yeah. If not,
Oh,
right
like
above.
you look up and they're there.
Yeah,
That's
something
gonna be
like that.
horrible.
Oh, God, that's
Horrifying.
eerie.
They haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
I think that the Archon also just seems so whimsical. Like, you see her in the trailer and she's like, when is something interesting going to
Yeah.
happen? And you can tell that, like, she's just not into what's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's going to, like, she's not, like, you know, like thrown in a jail cell like Nahida,
Right.
but like very suppressed, like lightly suppressed.
Well, I think what's really interesting is that, you know, with Nahida, we all know that Rukkhadevata died during the Cataclysm, and that Nahida was born out of the branch from Irminsul, and, you know, she's the baby of the Archons. But I think a lot of times we forget that the Hydro Archon also died during the Cataclysm. So we also don't know how old the new Hydro Archon is. She very much seems like a bratty teen who's
Yeah,
just
she's very immature.
over it and done with it. And at the same time, she seems to have a very emo dark side. And there's a part of me that feels like the whole lore we've heard about the original Hydro Archon is a lie, because we hear that like
What have we learned about them?
so the old Hydro Archon who reigned over like the Oceanids and everything, she's actually the puddle of the Amarada Pool, however you pronounce it, over in Pari
Mhm.
land. Like she
Ooh.
melted into that during the Cataclysm. So,
Mhm.
but I don't know,
Rita Pool.
it's a little sus to me.
The Oceanids don't like the new
No,
Hydro
and-
Archon
Yeah.
too. That's why they left.
And that's why they're in
Yeah,
Bottle
an
Land.
assassin from our homeland.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
Rodea makes
oh
sense
no, the French.
finally. Like Rodea has
Yeah.
been warning us the
Like,
whole time.
there was definitely like a difference of philosophies and a departure of the Oceanids. That's why it's interesting that
Mhm.
like the Melusines are the ones who stayed, and I'm like, okay, you're like the little toadies of the regime, right? Like you're the ones who fell in line.
Yeah, the Oceanids must have fought back. And I think we even see that in Bottle Land, like over the summer event, that they
yeah.
kind of needed a place to go. So
Terrible, by the way.
I know, so sad.
Like I'm enjoying it so much
Let's be
more that the
negative for a
story is over, because the story was like something
Dude.
they wrote in version 1. It was horrible. Yeah. It had its charming moments, but it didn't need to be 5 hours.
It made no sense. Like, at one point, I remember streaming it, and I was just screaming at my computer like, Kokomi, why are you here? Go home.
Why are you?
Go do something productive.
Everyone is just like
please.
thrown in because they're on the banner. I'm just like,
Yes.
what are you doing? Like,
It made
what is
no
your skin in the
sense.
game? Why are you in the desert? And she's like, I found this magic clam. I was looking for. I'm like, whatever. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, if they had done what they did last year and done what we call the therapy island format, which is multiple
Oh
episodes,
my god, yes.
which is like multiple episodes where they go into each banner character and like we get something out of it. Like that's what fan service is. We want to see these characters, and you better tell a damn good story if your summer event isn't actually about the playable characters, and they did not.
And if you can't think of anything else, just give us more Kazuha backstory, you know. to win-win,
Yeah,
like...
yeah, get him on there for like the 6 millionth time. I
Yeah.
like I have learned I'm at max capacity knowing stuff about Kazuha.
Yeah, for reals. Like, and like the fact that his story quest is like the only one you get like a weapon from.
Right.
Like,
It's weird, right?
Like he has some special treatment. Like he's cool. I got him in the personality quiz, so I'm kind of biased. He's
That's
cool.
fair. No, he's
I
cool.
love
He's a good little weed man.
About Bottleland. So okay, so besides like the characters that were involved, etc., what do you guys think about the Oceanid part of it? Like the Oceanid
Weak.
powers.
It was weak.
Because
Eh.
here's something my friend said who like just mentioned sort of in passing, maybe there's something here, maybe there isn't, maybe it's some kind of reach, but the Oceanids were able to form these like sort of ocean water eidolon people based on the memories of these people,
Right.
or something like that. But then in the trailer for Fontaine we hear that like their memories are being swallowed, or like something like that. Like there's
Right.
something involving memories with the water. So like, is there some sort of connection with Oceanids, for example, being important for keeping the memories of the people that are involved in the water in Fontaine, something like that? Like
In the
some sort of
in the Bottleland story, and I don't fault you for remembering this because through that story, they had a throwaway line about the ley lines.
Oh,
And
did they?
I don't
the
even
ley
remember
lines.
what capacity, but ley lines are kind of their blank check for wacky time memory stuff.
right,
It's their magic.
like with Carrie Bear, yeah.
Well, I think too, like water in folklore, like IRL, has been very much compared to memories because water, ice always turns back to water. It always evaporates and then turns back to water, right? So the idea that
Right.
water always holds memories. But I do think that the Oceanid people have some weird thing with memories going on, because in the trailer they have like that woman's voice who's like, who am I?
Who am I?
Where am I?
Yeah.
And I almost feel like that's the original Hydro Archon still alive. And that's
Yeah.
why the whole puddle thing is like all total BS. And it's going to be very interesting. I actually enjoyed the summer event. I'm, though, a big Kaya stan, so I had a lot of fun getting to see him and Klee interact. I totally agree.
were
Kokomi was
cute.
kind of randomly in there. And the only thing I could think of that made sense besides whatever clam she was looking for, her ocean-hued clam, was that, you know, we did just see Yoimiya travel to Sumeru too, so I don't know if that was their way of trying to show that, like, they're leaving Inazuma, because Yoimiya was
love
really the
it.
first
Yeah.
I
time
do
we
love
saw
it when they
that.
travel across regions.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
she's like, well, I might as well, right? Like, I might as well go because, like, I can leave now. So
God,
maybe
Yoimiya's
it's
second
just-
quest was so good.
Yes.
It was so good.
And also,
I cried.
I loved getting
Same.
to see Kale and Eula, like, interact. Especially, like, I don't know, I'm a huge Eula Amber are
Hey,
dating
this
fan.
was a great quest for
Yeah.
Eula.
Yeah.
This was like a really good, like, to bring Eula some like character development and to show her progress as a character. I think it was really good for that. I'm
This
a
is the
fan of Eula,
first
too.
quest where she didn't talk weird.
Yeah.
She didn't
Yeah,
have
she-
her
she,
like,
like,
her
she kinda
vengeance
grew up,
jargon.
right?
She's like,
Yeah,
oh, I
yeah.
can speak more frankly.
She,
Yeah, and I love that the story for her ends up with her being another clanmate who doesn't like their family, and it's like implying that
Mhm.
they're gonna go and talk to their family about changing their whole vibe. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Was
I
that
love
guy real? I thought he was also part of the Mirage.
No, he was the
Mm.
reason she went there because
Right.
she was looking for him. He kind of wandered into that.
I guess I thought he
space.
might have like died in the desert
Uh,
Yeah.
and
oh no.
Oh no, he didn't have the glowing blue eyes, right? Like,
No.
he,
Oh, good point,
He,
good point.
He was looking for the
Mhm.
for the thing that grants wishes, which is like why he was there.
Right.
So like, you know, I think that story, like the things that happened in Borderland, there were some pretty cool things that happened in Borderland. Like, even the reveal of like what an Oceanid is and is capable of is like
Yeah.
pretty interesting because we
Yeah,
literally
that is
know
that's
nothing
true.
about Oceanids except for Rodea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so there was definitely some value in Bottomland in Bottomland for some characters, and then also for preparing us for a story we might have in
Yeah.
Fontaine
Yeah.
involving. Well, I mean, we'll definitely have in Fontaine involving Oceanids. So, I don't think it was a total waste. I definitely agree the narrative could have been better, but this is like a Hoiverse thing. I mean, this is like a Genshin thing for sure,
Yeah.
where the lore is really cool and like the concepts they introduce are great, but then maybe the way they introduce it in the narrative that you're playing is like not the most interesting or could have
Right.
been done better.
Exactly.
That's true.
It
So
is-
I
it's-
feel
they
like
always
that.
it's always a question of execution because the foundation they build is good. And like
Yeah.
like you said, these weaker stories they're never like a total wash. Water. But because there's always something you can extrapolate about a character,
you get
about
it?
the environment.
Not
Figure out it.
Deacon.
But like
Do you get it?
like
Water, as in
seeing how strong their writing has become over the course of version 3, it's like this is such a backslide that it's kind of a shame. Because I feel
That's
like in
true.
the earlier versions, especially in version 1, we kind of had to make our own fun by getting into the lore.
That's true.
Now we expect it. Now we're all spoiled and we're like, oh, we expect a good story right off the bat. We don't have to make one.
Yeah, it's starting to get deep.
yeah, like the deep sea.
Blah,
You
blah,
get
blah,
it?
blah, 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 blah.
No, not the deep
Yep.
sea.
I'll also say like this has nothing to do with the Fontaine story, but like from the 4.0 live stream, like I loved seeing that. Okay, so one thing that I really liked about Catalyst characters was that how they would attack and how they would use their abilities was totally unpredictable. Like
Yeah.
you have Hazo. Like when they released Hazo is when I started thinking about this. Is
I
because
love a catalyst.
yeah,
for that
because they have
reason.
like these variations of like he has the punching, Skara can fly and throw wind blades, like Klee has the bombs. Like you would expect every Catalyst character in like an image in your head, like they're mages, so they all attack like Yanfei, right?
Mhm.
But it's not like that, and so
Even
I'm really
Yanfei is
interested-
fun because she's charge attack based. Everyone's got something
yeah.
weird.
No, her kit is great, but like even like just like her concept normal attacks is like throwing fire, right? Like you'd kind of expect that.
She has normal
But-
attacks. I'm
Well,
literally a Yanfei main, and I only use charge.
Well, there you go. So what I'm trying to say is like Linny, right? No, Child is the other exception. Child is a bow user who uses water blades. There's like literally no reason that like he needs to be a bow character, but he is one.
It's
and
because
so that's
Bo is
just
his
how it is.
weakest, and he needs to get stronger.
Oh, there you go. So
We love a guy who challenges
So-
himself.
there was Child as the exception, but the next bow character, Linny, throws cards for his normal attack instead of using a bow. I mean, he does use a bow for his charge attack apparently, but I think that is so cool and makes me more hopeful for like more variation in like even if they
Yeah.
don't add weapon types to the game, that we can get different kind of weapons or experience like different kinds of playstyles within these like categories that they've already made. So,
Well, we're going
yeah.
to, right? Because like we have Mika who has a
Right.
Crossbow.
the
Everything.
pole arm and the crossbow, and now
Everything.
we have Clorinde who has the musket.
she has a gun.
She has a
Yeah,
gun.
full-on
Musket
pistol.
mama.
Wild.
Jeez. Yeah,
Uh,
so I'm really excited for that. Maybe Navia will use her umbrella when she attacks. Like who knows?
That'd
Oh,
be
that'd be
fun.
cool.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy because I think we talked about this. They put so much love and care into the normal attack strings. Like, even for characters using, like, bog standard weapons, like spears and swords, there's always some little thing to them. Like, I love how Official, like, laughs at the end of her bow attack string.
Yeah.
But it's
Toma
like,
flips. he,
yeah.
Like, whoosh, and like
Yeah.
it's
I
like,
love
but you're
that.
never going to see them because these characters don't use their normals.
Yeah. Well, that's the interesting thing, right? Is like how they choose to let us, which is why it's so funny. Like Kuki uses kunai, like in her, in her like four attack normal string. Like there's only 4 hits, but like it's like really interesting to see, but you never use it. So like I really love the idea of like getting more physical damage buffers or like using infusions to like make these characters use their normal attacks to some degree.
Ooh.
Like
yeah.
I've like experimented a lot with that, especially with like Candace, because I feel like Candace isn't used enough. But like
Amen.
it's really cool. Like that's why Genshin is so cool, because like the combat system is so robust and interesting that you can like kind of customize it to how you want to play. And the more
Yeah.
characters we get, the cooler it's going to be. So
I can see
I'm
why
really
you're
excited.
a Yoi fan then, because like
Mhm.
she's all about just fun normals.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's true.
We had this discussion amongst the churls. It's like, it's not really that fun to just build for a bigger number. It's way more
Right.
fun to build for, more stamina, more attack speed, more movement speed. Because, like,
Mm-hmm.
that way the feel of the game is going to be fundamentally different. And
Mhm.
that's way more
Right.
rewarding than, like, oh, okay, I did, like, twice as much damage.
That's why like quick swap teams are super fun, right? Like
Yes.
Tignari is like one of a really good example, and I love playing with him because
Yeah.
it's just so quick.
So quick for no reason. I love playing
Yeah,
with him.
I love that he is one of the only characters that makes charge attacks not feel slow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, especially for the bow, right? And obviously he has this like aimbot thing that
Mhm.
like helps him auto
Yeah.
things. But like it's really cool to like, cause okay, when I first got Tighnari, I didn't know that that's how his mechanic worked. Like that you like skill and then like your next 3 attacks, charge attacks are like super fast.
Mhm.
So like
Yeah.
I was like, what's with this guy? Like what am I supposed to do with him? And then when I learned, I was like, he is so fun. He's so cool. Like oh man, I love that.
That's
When
awesome.
Yeah.
Anybody who played Ganyu thought, oh, like I can use my charge attack in my burst and it'll be super quick. And I remember Ganyu was like the first character I ever spent money on just because of watching streamers play with Ganyu and how fast she could charge attack.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
And then I got Tignari and I was just like, whoa, like what is this? This is crazy.
Well, C6 Ganyu is something else. But
Ooh, big
know.
spender.
I was gonna. I
Yeah.
can't afford that.
no, I mean I don't have that either. I'm just saying like as a character her gameplay kind of completely transforms.
Right.
Which is like
Correct, yeah.
which is really interesting in itself. But they designed them a certain way like that, so it is what it is.
I
But
will say,
it's pretty cool.
I like, besides the standard banners, I don't have a lot of constellations. Like, I'm a little picky, like, because I spend my money. Don't worry, like, I do. But I try to be a little picky with it. And I got a Hu Tao constellation in her last banner. And
Oh my god, C1.
Well
oh
done.
my god, it was insane, the difference. And
Yeah, I have.
I don't think by we, I mean me, the collective we, I guess, we don't realize this sometimes how strong these characters can get. Like, you're like, oh, cool, like, I got Child, I'm not going to pull for any more of him. And then you'll get C1 Child, and you're like, what just happened? Like, he went on overload. And I think it's very smart on Hoyo money-wise, but also gameplay-wise.
Oh, yeah.
And I've never noticed that before, and I'm just amazed by it. I wanted to share.
It also makes sense because, like, as a gacha game, you have to constantly pump out characters. Like, I don't know how many other gacha games you guys play.
Way too many.
Too many.
But, like, something like Fate Grand Order, like, that character is just a spreadsheet of numbers. You don't have to, spend a ton of time developing their model, their animation, the feel of their gameplay. And Genshin, like, there's so much more time put into each character. It makes sense that they would want to get some of that time back by rewarding you for getting repeats of that character.
Mm-hmm.
It just adds to the longevity.
I mean, just Genshin itself is just like, even like take Star Rail, for instance. Like, have you guys all played Star Rail?
Yeah, I love Star Rail.
I'm going to start playing it.
Okay, because
some of the churls do.
Well, basically, like, it's because it's a turn-based RPG and there's not like world exploration the way Genshin has it. Getting a new character is sort of that in a sense. Like it's like just like numbers or skills because you don't feel it as much as you just press a button and they do stuff.
For sure.
But, like in Genshin, you can explore the open world, and some of these characters who have things that might not be that useful in combat, like can also explore the open world with them or both. And like obviously, like Wanderer is like a perfect example of this. Like the game is different when you have Wanderer.
Yeah.
The game is different when you get any character that gives you an ability that lets you traverse like
Yeah.
Shin or Alhaitham or Kazuha. Like it, and there are those reasons to also pull for characters in Genshin. And then there are constellations that affect that too. Like C1 Yelan gives her 2 skill charges, and when you do her
my God.
skill and then you use her second skill again, by the time the first it's done, the first skill will be back. So you can infinitely run like Yelan style, like across the entire world. If
Oh
you
my
want.
god. Are you
Like-
on MiHoYo's PR team? Because you just made me really want to roll a C1 Yelan.
She's coming next patch. So like the thing is like, no, it's just because I've been having this conversation recently. Like we were actually talking about Spiral Abyss and like, is it worth it? Like in my last episode, we actually had like one of my community members like join the podcast for the first time, and he's the guy that helps out everybody with their Spiral Abyss and their accounts and stuff, and he like has his recommendations based on the meta because he's like a super meta person.
Mhm.
But he was saying like, there are constellations that it's not worth it if you're talking about like maybe about meta, or maybe it's more worth it if you're more interested in exploration. And so we were kind of bouncing that back and forth. And it's just such a cool, like, Genshin is so unique in that I think there's probably going to be more gacha games coming out there like Genshin soon. I saw that there are other games
definitely
similar, but Genshin does what it does right now so well, and and for us who are investing in it now, it's going to be kind of hard for us to leave, I think.
Absolutely.
Anytime soon. So, like, but it is definitely always a treat to get a new character that has some sort of traversal. Even Kirara, like, climbing up walls as Cat
Oh my
Boss.
god, yeah,
So
I wasn't gonna
cute.
roll her until I saw that.
Exactly.
I'm so
right?
sad I don't have Kirara.
Thank
You
you.
will get her, my friend. You will get her eventually. But, right after your free Bennett in the next event.
I know, I was like,
which
Bennett.
pissed me off
In
so
the
much. It made
pile,
me so mad.
Listen, that notification stay in red, okay? I don't care how many
Listen,
Bennetts I
as
get.
someone who has freshly C6 their Bennett like last month,
Mm-hmm.
after fighting that urge to get rid of that red notification,
Yeah.
I did it after clearing when the first cycle of the really hard abyss came out.
Right.
Like 9 started, and like I was just like, I'm C6 in my Bennett, and then I just did it.
Yeah, I mean, like,
like-
it's good for like 70% of comps that would use Bennett, but it's
Yeah.
not good for like 30%. So it is a power boost,
The thing is like, I don't think it's like super great either. Like, it's not bad and it's not good, and it just, like, honestly, it just really wasn't worth it. Is how I look at it.
Wow.
Wait, what was? What are you talking about? C6?
C6ing the Bennett. It's like it doesn't really matter
Yeah. Well,
because like
it's
like
only a
like
buff
the comp said it,
unless you have a character that can't use it, like Eula or something. Like, otherwise it's
or
only
like
a buff.
Kaching, right?
Right. The old characters with infusion who like didn't like, because every character has infusion now. The infusion overwrites Bennett's infusion,
Mm.
but Kaching doesn't. So like, and Ayaka doesn't. So you can't, you have to deal with it, or you have to like not C6
Right.
him. But they can fix this by letting you toggle constellations, which I don't know why they don't do that yet.
Yeah, for
But,
real. Like, that would
yeah,
just make
quality of
labbing
life.
them a lot more fun.
Yeah, and people could just like spend all of their constellations and then test each one in like for those YouTube videos and stuff, without having to like wait. You know, what
They
I
got a
mean?
lot they have to do before that, though. Like, hey, what if we could just like equip the same artifact to multiple people? Like, maybe not more than once in a party, but like just to have that loadout on them
Yeah,
ready.
just loadouts.
Yeah, well, loadouts in general. They said in the developer blog that they're working on that. So
Ay,
that's
ay,
good
ay.
to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
50% of the good ideas that you have will never come to fruition because Hoyoverse doesn't do good idea things.
Yeah, you're right.
For
They
the
just
most
they just put them in Star Rail
Well,
instead.
okay, no, to be
Oh my
okay,
God.
there is a reason. There is a reason why Star Rail has so much better quality of life, and that's because when you're building a live service game, it's really hard to go back and fix your mistakes. You
You mean Geo? I'm sorry, what?
No, you're
please
right,
buff
though.
give please give better Geo. Give Child his plunge. Let Raiden Shogun talk about when it's raining, because she still doesn't do that. But anyway, yeah, there is
It's
stuff
hard.
they have
Yeah,
to do,
it's
but
hard
like
to
you gotta
stuff, yeah.
understand there's every indication that they are just like cringing at a lot of the stuff that they cannot go back and fix. And
Yeah.
the best way to do that is to refactor it all, but they don't have time to like divert from pumping out new content, because that's how you keep players engaged.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume it's big enough that they would have like a way to figure out how to retroactively.
They could
But
do it.
but that kind of
Like-
development doesn't scale that easily with a larger personnel. I think they want to do it, and I think they can do it eventually. I just think that given their insane 5-week turnover time, they
Yeah.
just don't have the resources to go back and fix mistakes. Because
Yeah, they
what
update
are they
pretty
going to say to
fast.
people like, we're not going to give you a story update because we're fixing past stuff.
Yeah,
I
people
don't
would be
like
mad.
quality of
I
life
would
thing.
love that, but I don't think it's going to go well.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could do what they've done and like make a 45 like a patch wide event, and a patch wide, instead of doing the normal half cycles.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like, just do an entire like 4.1, the entirety of this patch. You get everything at the beginning, but then some point in the patch maybe they go down for maintenance, or like maybe they just don't add any new content during that time because they've already added all the content they would have added in the beginning. Like, I'm
or
sure,
extend the flagship event.
right? I'm sure there's ways to do it.
But they don't
But they
even
have
have an
to
ability to run the game offline. Like, they would have to take it all down. Like, there's no off.
Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I
accessible
mean,
version
yeah,
of
but
Genshin.
that's what happens with, like, games like like that, like Valorant and other games where they go, hey, we're gonna do this, so here's the expectation. And I think that they do that.
Those games are
pretty
putting out
early.
stuff every 5 weeks.
Yeah, but at the same time, you also have beta versions, right? So like they have the opportunity to implement stuff and test it without taking the game down.
I think they just can't spare enough people to do that on like a multi-cycle approach. But
Right.
but you can see what they want to do because Honkai fixed all of Genshin's problems. That's 'cause
Right.
the
Right.
easiest thing to
Yeah.
do is start from scratch. Like
I mean,
Honkai
we're not
is-
game devs like you, but like, all I know is that they could do it if they want to. Like,
no,
that's all I
because
know. Like,
all the money in
it'll
the
take
world,
time, but
all the money in the world can't fix time.
yeah, but
I
like,
do
all
believe
the money in the
they're-
world would let them stop the service of the game for like a certain amount of
That
time.
would be suicidal.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
so I don't know then.
It's-
Like the
It's like balancing plates, man. Literally, live service game dev is for masochists, and I don't know why anyone makes these. But
Well, I have a question.
well,
you guys
interesting.
are
Thanks for sharing that.
you guys are talking about like
Yeah.
updates and things you wish they'd go back on. What are your
Mhm.
opinions on the teapot? Because
I'm a teapot main. If you think there's no endgame in Genshin, your teapot sucks.
I
Yep,
agree.
Yeah, I agree. I just started doing T-bot stuff now. So I just learned how to on stream. My last stream, I learned how to make stuff float.
Ooh.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
So I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
So do you think they'll fix it?
Wait, fix
Oh.
what?
The load level.
Oh,
Like,
No,
why
because
can I
this
only
game
have
has to
one
run on
corner?
phones.
I hate
yeah.
it.
I think the phone is restricting them in a lot of ways we don't realize.
Yes.
Like so, I applaud the fact that it's playable on phones.
How so with load limit? Is it restricting the phone?
Just the amount of objects it has to draw in that scene.
Yeah.
No, the phone is
They're all
restricting
really-
the non-phones. Like
Exactly.
because people play on phones. Someone who can load something on a PC goes to play it on their phone, it will crash or it won't work because their phone will never have that much. Or they have to get to a point where like the phone has an insane memory, but then they're alienating all the people who don't have like the newest technology. They have a
Exactly.
base bottom line that they have to stick to, and the phone lowers that bottom line, as opposed to it being a console and PC exclusive
Right.
experience.
Now, don't get us wrong. The fact that Genshin runs on a phone is a miracle.
It's amazing.
Making
Yeah, I don't
Breath
know
of the
how it
Wild
does
on
that.
a phone is wizardry.
And you can run it at like 120 frames on an iPhone. Like that's
Yeah.
like,
It's
that's
insane.
Oh yeah, I play on an iPhone all the time and it's great. But like I still think that like you could still increase the load limit even slightly and have it not really like damper like the phone performance like really like at all.
Well, there's
Like my phone is like 4 years old and I play it's like fine.
I mean, when you're trying to make something fit on a phone, that's like growing a bonsai, right? Like every minute decision piles up. I will say though that if you look at the amount of load capacity that the newer furniture takes up compared to the older stuff, it's a lot lower.
Yeah, I actually was super surprised. Like I was doing some experimenting and I was touring my friend's teapot, and I was like, "You can fit all this?"
Yeah.
And like not to mention like inside the mansion, the load limit is separate for the hallways than
Yeah.
it is for like the base floor
Thank
and the
God.
rooms. I
Yeah.
was like, that's impressive. Like it's actually really impressive that they were
Like-
able to do that.
Like the lamps. If you try to use the lantern right lamps, they are horrifyingly expensive capacity wise.
Oh yeah, they are.
But something newer is a little
Mhm.
better. I think they'll always be kind of pricey because they emit light, and that's like
Right,
extra.
they change
Right.
with the
Exactly.
time of day and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's rough, and it's like, all right, our mantra is like, we'll dunk on the game happily. We're not in anyone's pocket. We're not the pocket big hoyo. but it's the fact that we have the teapot. It's a small miracle.
Yeah.
Everything in this game is like, holy cow, you pulled it off.
The teapot. So were you interested? Did you play Divine Ingenuity?
I did not.
Like the one where you make your own domain?
Oh wait,
No,
I did.
I didn't like that one that much, but I liked the Academia Schoolfest version of that with the domain with the teapot furniture.
Oh man, okay.
Because
man,
I was
okay,
like,
so-
finally, my time is come.
I'm a huge like make puzzle rooms, like in that I was making puzzle rooms, like I was streaming like 6 hours straight of like me
Oh,
making
sick.
dungeons in Divine Ingenuity, and it was like the coolest thing. And that's actually what got me into the teapot, because the closest system that exists in that game outside of that event is the teapot.
Yeah,
The
that's
problem
a really
is
good point.
Divine Ingenuity gives you all the tools you need from the beginning, and teapot you have to build everything you want with resources, and that takes time. So like But like I really loved Divine Ingenuity, but one of my biggest gripes was that the load limit was the same as in the teapot, where it just shows you a yellow, red, or green
Yep.
dot, and it doesn't tell you exactly how much load like it is parsing or whatever, what have you. So
You're
like,
super right. I would love a
I
fixed
would
number.
love transparency for the teapot. Like, how much load are we taking up? Like, how much load does this take up specifically? It would be really helpful.
Man, Hoyo hates transparency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I have never seen the patch notes use the word optimize more liberally or more vaguely than Hoyo versus. It's just like, what does that mean? Can you give us an example?
Did something with teapot. Oh, okay.
It's like, cool. We'll figure it out.
Something in the teapot.
Do you
It's like
remember
they
when we
fixed a
were locked
typo.
Oh my god, when we were locked out. Oh my god.
I hated that so much.
That was
6
the
months
worst.
of
That
no
was
teapot.
terrible.
that was my Joker moment.
You didn't
Your
realize
villain story, your villain arc.
I was like, I'm gonna burn this down. I'm so
I
bad.
can see Beefy's like realm currency maxing out, and then they're just in front of the mirror putting the Joker makeup on.
Yeah, I'm just shaking the gates, going, "Let me in."
Well, the worst was like when you had friendship max, because you couldn't move people
Oh,
to get more
yeah.
friendship, and I was like, oh my gosh, like
I'm like, I have to
this is
feed my
terrible.
fish, please.
Not only that, but they literally had an event that was backed
Yes!
up to that moment.
Yes,
that,
I was like,
with
you
the
are
friendship
insane.
food.
You are insane for not prolonging
They're
this event,
madmen.
for not rescheduling it. Like, what the hell is going
I
on?
couldn't
like-
believe
They're like,
that. I
talk to
could
the
not
people that
believe
have been stuck in your teapot.
Trauma memory. Oh,
You're welcome.
That's why we're here.
it
right?
was like 8 years without a teapot. Like, what the hell? Horrible.
And it just came back like a month or two ago, and I remember saying on the podcast, like, "Hey, you think they're gonna lock us out of the teapot this time?"
I want a desert teapot. Give us the desert teapot, damn it.
Oh yeah.
I just want to underwater. I want a teapot
yeah,
for
Fontaine.
They
that
better
underwater.
have
Dive in.
underwater teapot for Fontaine.
That would be amazing. It's just a fish tank. You're inside
would-
of your own fish tank within your
I would never
teapot.
play the game again. I would vibe in there all day.
Yep. All right. We're going on like an hour and a half. So I want to wrap up by saying each of you guys list off which character from 4.0 you're looking forward to the most.
I might pronounce it wrong, but Fremine,
Yeah, Freminate's great.
my little
Fremine.
emo penguin boy. I'm hyped.
I love a sad boy.
He's really cool.
Furina, I'm so on board with her. She's a complete goblin. I think she's gonna be our comic relief Archon. She's absolutely hysterical.
Josh?
Like from 4.0, you mean like the banner characters?
Just like the character trailer that we got.
Oh,
All the 4.0
okay.
characters that were shown.
Oh, you mean like Fontaine characters?
Yep.
Clarend.
Mm.
Clorinda.
Yeah, because gun.
Mine's Navia. I just think she looks super fun.
A
Yeah.
and, like-
Geo character?
Well,
Gio's gonna be
Yeah.
great one day.
True.
We'll see.
Like,
it's not gonna be great one day.
We have currently more Dendro characters than Geo characters,
Right.
and Geo has been out since the beginning of the game. So
That's 'cause
Navia brings it up to equal.
Our
'cause
last 5-star
Dendro's
Geo
fun.
character was Ito.
One and Oni.
The one and only.
Oh, Max Middleman.
Yeah, Max Middleman.
What a
Love him.
treasure. So
I was
fun.
really hoping that like they will do something with Navia, like like they do with Nilu, and like have something that augments Geo reactions, because like Geo needs a sort of inadvertent buff, like not indirect buff. And I don't think it'll be hard for them to like buff all of Geo. I mean, if they want to do it, they can do it, but like I think it would make more sense to have characters to have like buff augmentation. Wait, what? Reaction augmentation buffs
Yeah.
in
Mhm.
characters, like similar to Nilu and her like Bloom Dendro stuff, like Hydro Dendro only. So like if you have a all Geo team, or maybe not all Geo team because we already have Goro doing the Geo like team stuff, but something like that would be really interesting to make it stronger.
Yeah, that'd be
to bring Geo
fantastic.
back a little bit. Yeah.
Mhm.
Also, just like as a baseline, give it a crystallize with Dendro at least. Like
Yeah.
that stuff should
Yeah.
be pretty easy to put
Or
in.
like Shatter with Cryo.
They might be saving those reactions for like to change the game again, like they did with Dendro.
Hmm.
You know.
Yeah. Now we see they're getting really specific with how different characters
have
and
to.
artifacts change the game. It's like,
Yeah.
they probably won't add any more elemental reactions, but now characters have character specific reactions.
Yeah.
Which is the
Genshin's-
direction that makes sense. I
Yeah,
think.
Genshin's a deck builder. What you're gonna see are the intricacies of each character's kits and how they interact with each other, and that's gonna be fun to
You
work
know,
with.
one thing that is not a thing that is that might be more of a thing, the lithic spear being powered by characters only from Liyue in your party.
Oh,
You know,
like in TCG.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what it
Yeah.
does. That's what the spear does.
Yeah.
You don't have it?
Oh no, like in the gameplay, because I know that in TCG there are cards that power up your team if you have two of the
No,
same
there
region.
is a weapon. There is a weapon called the lithic spear, and it does more. It has more stacks based on how many Liyue characters are in your party. It's been out for like a year and a half.
Oh, I don't know her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I
no,
don't know her.
it's a weapon. It's a yeah. So it's a weapon that like it's only
She
available on
doesn't
some
go
banners.
here.
And,
I believe you.
But isn't that interesting? Like they introduced this concept. There's no weapon that works like that for Mondstadt or Inazuma or Sumeru. So like
And it's interesting that they can do that at all. Because like that
Yeah,
means they
it's
have
like-
the framework to know how many characters from what region are in your party.
right. So there's so much potential for like restrictions on team building that can buff your team, but like we need more characters to put more restrictions. Otherwise, you're restricting too much. Like if you have like a Hydro Dendro only works with Nilou, but then you only have 2 of each element, then you only have like super limited options. But we have so many Hydro and so many Dendro now,
Yeah.
so we have options. So yeah, it's just something that I'm really looking forward to and hoping to do.
Yeah, that's gonna come as a result of them really looking at what people are playing with and what they're trying to do and like adjusting accordingly. Like that's why we have Shenhe, right? Is because at
Right.
that time cryo DPS was so popular, it made sense to make a limited 5-star that was just a cryo DPS support. And
And I
so
love
So,
Shenhe.
I'm curious how they're gonna make the arc system work, like with the enemies, like especially for things like Spiral Abyss, because like they said
Oh,
they don't
God.
want the Oisa and the Numa to be like flat damage buffs or anything like that, but it'll give you like some sort of advantage. So it makes me think of like when you fight those invisible Dorito robots, like if you hit them with a quicken elemental reaction, they come out of their invisibility, and that's not something you can do unless you have Dendro and Light and Electro in your party.
right.
So
It's kind of like what the Tree Lakshana creatures do in Sumeru. Where it's like
right,
Yeah.
really specific
Mhm.
elemental requirements.
yeah. So like I'm really curious how much they're going to implement this and how much difference it's going to make, because you're giving us Lynette, and then they're going to give us Hydro Traveler, who assumably has like the other element. So yeah, I'm
They
really
won't make
curious.
us pull for a mechanic.
Yeah.
They won't.
Well, We haven't talked about what is probably the biggest gameplay and addition and risk that is coming to Fontaine, which is the substantial underwater sections.
Oh yes.
What are we feeling about that? Because underwater,
Bring them on.
are you sure? But will it be
Yeah, I'm
fun?
hyped.
From what they've shown, I feel very, and I'll be honest, right? Like I've played tons of other games that have done underwater combat or underwater exploration,
Mhm.
and they've been terrible.
Yeah, it's like every
I think
game.
They went about it, and it looks solid.
They're
Yeah.
really trying to make it not terrible. They made it interesting that like you can absorb like abilities as you're swimming around from other things, like other creatures and stuff, to like traverse through the underwater world. They made it super light and easy to see, so that like on purpose, so not to trigger any phobias, but also to make it easier to kind of manage your exploration. I think they put a lot of thought into it. The currents,
they
no
definitely
breathing,
put
no
a-
breathing
breathing.
mechanic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so smart.
yeah,
I think it's going to be
They,
a learning
they definitely
curve.
put yes.
But once you get used to it, it'll be okay.
I know it'll be okay. I just don't know if it's going to be fun long term.
Right.
well, it's only Fontaine, and they said they want it to be 50-50, and it looks like there's a ton of lore and really cool like what set pieces and environments like in the water.
You have like
So,
old
I'm-
Fontaine, right?
Yeah, and I'm actually like super curious as to like how they're gonna funnel us through that.
Yeah.
I think the cubes are interesting because you can see exactly how much water is there. There's no
Hmm.
like you wondering like if how deep does this go? Whatever. No, there is a cube in the air and you can kind of float into it, and it's like
Yeah, a little
know,
fish tank.
so like those exploration things are cool too.
You said only Fontaine, like for now, right? Like you, like we all know that they are going to release more underwater areas in other areas of like Teyvat.
Yeah, flood Sangonomiya. Let's go.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
I don't know. I'm like I think I could see them doing that, but I'm curious if they want to do that because they're really focusing on making the the exploration 50-50 in Fontaine. They said like they want it to be balanced, because it's kind of the main thing. Now I'm curious if they would in other regions just add swimming. Natlan and Sneznaya don't really seem like places there would be much underwater swimming, but like, they could always have it in some capacity, but I doubt that they're going to make us swim more than they do in Fontaine. So that's
I had
my
a thought
bet.
about
I'm
that
betting
too,
on that.
is knowing that it's easier to start from scratch than to go back and fix things. Maybe
Right.
if people aren't really happy with the Fontaine underwater movement, then they could come up with some other underwater scenario somewhere else that uses a different system, and they
Right.
can learn from their mistakes there instead of locking themselves in.
They were also very open during the live stream about the fact that they knew underwater exploration wasn't for everyone.
Right.
And I think they know that it's going to be torture for some people, especially with motion sickness issues.
That's what the worry was. I'm like, wow, they seem really frank and apologetic, which is
Yes,
something
already,
Hoyoverse
right?
Yeah.
aren't really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta say though,
Yeah.
Dawe and Aquaria from the live streams, they like own my heart. Like every time
yeah.
they come on the TV and they talk about their passion, and I didn't know they released that trailer in 2018. And I never noticed the date on it, I guess. So they've just poured so much of their heart and soul into this game. And the way they're even talking about like the plate tectonic system in Teyvat,
Right.
and they have put so much thought into how Fontaine is going to work that I think they can't put that into other places either. Like they were
For
very
sure.
worried that raising Fontaine had to like actually make physical sense too. Like, do they have like a geologist, a cartographer?
They just
probably.
love what they do, and they think
love
about it all
it.
the time, and everyone cares about making it the best they can be.
And that's
It's
what
so
makes me
apparent,
love the
like,
game.
The amount of love and care in this game, like, yeah, it misses its marks all the time. Yeah, it's super greedy, but they take so much pride in what they do. It's like such a breath of fresh air in games in the same like level of the industry, and that just sense of being genuine goes so far for them. That
And it blows my mind that it's a gacha phone game.
Literally.
Yep.
exactly.
You get that nowhere else.
No other gacha
one's
phone
doing
game will
this.
love me back just as much. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, exactly. Like no other gacha phone game is gonna take your money, but then use it to hire the greatest Beijing opera soprano in the country.
my God.
Like,
Literally.
yeah,
Like,
make
it just,
your
like,
game better with the money you
holy
give
crap.
us. That's unheard of in this
Right?
industry.
in this whole
Um,
industry.
The last thing I wanted to mention about the 4.0 live stream that was like stuck out to me is the freaking party screen polish, guys.
Oh my God.
So
It's
excited.
beautiful.
I'm just going to
Yeah,
stare at
That's
that.
the one that's like the one retro edition from Star Rail that they actually did so far.
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you for that. And I do want to acknowledge that when they can, they are doing retro editions.
Yeah, the map as well.
The map, they're making the early game experience for players better.
Yeah.
By like giving you a
Yeah.
free teleport to the Fontaine.
I'm walking anyway.
I mean, walk anyway,
of
hell
course,
yeah,
we're,
but like
we're walking for sure.
like you're not gonna get into the Yai situation where you need to complete 3 chapters of the story and then 2 world quests and then 1 extra world quest to fight the world boss to level up your character. Like if you're
Yeah.
a new player, you can walk to that boss now.
If you get a Fontaine character, Inazuma's still in the same boat.
No,
but-
Inazuma is like that was
Yeah.
their first sandbox and it's just cut off from everything. And they got to
Yeah,
see
I mean,
whether they kinda knew what they were
lore-wise, it
doing.
makes sense, but marketing wise and for player experience-wise, it's pretty difficult to like get an Inazuma character.
Yes,
but
it that's gonna suck for everyone forever. But all the other ones they've learned from, and it's cool to take that core sample of Genshin and see like this was made after they learned that this was made after they got this feedback.
which reminds me that they will probably never ever have an Inazuma character in the standard banner
That's a really good point.
because think about it, they get like an Inazuma character. They literally can't level up this character until they get to a certain point in the game. That would suck. Like, oh, my first 5-star. Oh,
Yep,
like.
Sorry.
you can't even
Yeah.
ascend them once unless you spend your star glitter on handguards, which is so stupid that no one should ever do it.
I've done that.
I was going to say I've done it a lot.
We've
Yeah.
all had our little.
I mean, because
buyer's
when you
remorse.
when you dolphin a little bit, you got some extra star glitter. You might as well,
Yeah.
like,
Exactly.
bling bling.
for me, it was like using up my 4-star weapons that only came out in like chests or event weapons and not locking them.
Oh no.
Oh.
Oh no.
Rest in peace, Albedo's.
Not the
victims.
Cinnabar
no.
Spindle. No.
Wait, or the is it, oh yeah,
Or
you didn't play during
Festering.
Festering Desire, did you?
I lost Festering and I got Cinnabar Spindle.
Oh my
no.
gosh.
Oh.
What do you guys say to doing this again for 5.0?
Oh my god,
That'd be
absolutely.
a blast.
Yeah, it sounds fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for putting this together. I would love that.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh no. What happened?
We have a
No.
traitor in our midst.
Oh no.
Suspedo took her
No.
away.
Am I?
there you are.
Oh, I think it might be raining here. So,
Oh, how comfy. Just in
I-
time.
I would absolutely love to do this again, and thank you so much for bringing us all together.
Yeah, this is an absolute blast.
What do we call this? The Genshin Roundtable?
Yeah.
The Genshin Podcast Summit.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, the Genshin Podcast Summit sounds
Yeah,
good,
Summit's
actually.
fun.
Yeah.
That does sound good.
Like the UN, that's how I see us. Gathering at the table, that's just Rosie's big coffin.
Here,
Yeah,
here.
it was so fun, like everyone's different perspectives, both in the game and like in other subject matter that they know about. Like that's the podcasting's about, baby.
Yeah, and it's just so nice. Genshin has such a wonderful online community, and it's nice to come together and talk about it. And I don't know, not that we're representatives of the community, but there's just so much wonderful stuff going
Boy,
on.
I would hope
out
not.
there.
Look at me.
And it's and it's just nice to share it all.
Yeah, like this is a game worth looking at. I
Absolutely.
think all of us, each one of us in our separate projects reached that same conclusion, which is why we do what we do.
Mhm.
And it's cool to come together and compare notes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a passion.
there has been so much time of my life where I was just like, okay, I know I want to do a podcast, but I never had something that I cared about so
Yes.
much that I think for me, like the first one was like Pokemon, but that like market was super saturated.
Wait, Pokemon what? Like just Pokemon?
Like a podcast on Pokemon.
Oh,
yeah.
my first podcast before this one was a Pokemon Unite podcast.
Oh,
Right
nice.
on.
Yeah, and then like we did like 12 episodes or something, and then we were like, all right, this game's dead because they didn't update it for like 3 months, and it was like it was so terrible. And now they update it every 2 weeks with a new character and everything, and I was like, forget it. The time has passed, and so now I'm a Genshin main, so you know,
Yeah.
There
I'm
you go.
okay with that. But yeah, funny that you say that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome being able to talk to you guys. I've been like listening to your shows here and there.
Ah,
Like
Bless you.
Mm.
listening to the 3
Yeah.
other like Genshin podcasts is like kind of hard because my commute to work is literally like 5 minutes.
Mhm.
But-
Oh, nice.
LOL.
Yeah, it's like I get through your intro, I'm like, okay, I'm at work, and turn it off.
Fair enough.
But no, it's awesome getting you guys in here and talking to you all because it's something that I wanted to do for so long,
Mhm.
and it was nice because there was like one other Genshin podcast that I found. You had to like really look for it because their SEO was like really bad.
Mhm.
So
Oh.
when I started to like Google Genshin in my search bar and seeing your podcast pop up, I just got like super excited because I was yes, there's
Aw.
like more Genshin content creators coming out, and yeah, so it's just super awesome that I got the chance to talk to you all.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you
Yes.
so much for giving us the opportunity. It was a great idea, and I think as soon as you proposed it to us, like we all jumped on it. Like, hell yeah.
Yeah, when you
Yeah.
proposed, we all said yes.
We all said yes. Where's my rose? Is this the Bachelor?
Rose
I'm here
is
for-
dead. She's in
I'm
the
just here for the
coffin.
champagne.
It's in the coffin.
Oh no! Pour one out for Rosie.
Are you gonna have us
But
over
yeah,
to
but-
the Jade Chamber soon, Beefy? I'd like to come visit.
Yeah, next time Ningguang is like on an extended vacay, maybe
Oh
we
my
could
God.
swing that.
All right.
Just
We-
write her schedule for her, you know?
Yeah, change it up.
I don't even know how to
Mhm.
write.
Well,
It
Just
would be-
consult Kaching.
It would be my pleasure to consult my fellow churlmen, and get you guys into the studio, and record a couple
Yes.
secret podcasts before she comes home. And
That's my
listen,
goal.
I only get to respawn once every 24 hours. I prefer not to if I.
well, to that I say, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Nimuhe Yaya Tomo.
Oh, yeah. Yayika. Yayika. But yeah, thanks so much, Dalton, for having us over. It was definitely really cool to just hear kind of everybody's. I mean, we all have like different styles. It's like really interesting. Like,
Yeah, you You Genshin listeners are so lucky of the
Yeah.
smorgasbord that you get to pick.
Yeah, that's right. You guys are lucky. You guys
Mhm.
are lucky that we're all here doing this for you.
You have
We enjoy it.
4 choices, 4 great choices, and only 1 commute. Are you kidding me?
Only one commute.
Our listeners need more jobs.
Yeah, please take jobs
Oh, God.
farther away from home. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you have to do them in home, then like be our social media managers because that stuff's hard.
Yeah.
It's true.
Dude, I couldn't do it. I tried. I just stopped eventually. Like people who like go and follow us on Instagram because like I was adding Instagram like handles like in all of our like podcast episode descriptions,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually I was just like, I don't care anymore, and I just stopped.
Nah, I just do Twitter. Like,
It's so hard for pod.
just Twitter.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, we
yeah,
do.
well, we can always trade shop secrets outside of the podcast and
Woo!
make sure that we're all like getting seen, getting out there.
Absolutely. Teamwork is the dream work.
Speaking of getting out there, we should probably run through our social media credentials before you shut this down. So
Sure thing, Beefy. Why don't you start?
why I never thought you'd anyway. Okay, so so just to reiterate, I am Churlman Beefy of the Shade Chamber, a Genshin podcast, one of only 5 hilly churls who knows how to podcast. Our Twitter is at Shade Chamber Pod. Our website, shadechamberpodcast.com. You can find our show, The Shade Chamber, a Genshin podcast. We do 2 different formats. Actually, we do a video format, and that's on YouTube and Spotify. And then on every other podcast platform, we're there as audio only. We interface a lot with the video-facing side of our production on YouTube and Twitter, but we'd love to hear more from you guys who are listening from podcasts. We always make sure our stuff's listenable. So come join us in the chamber. Come join the Illuminati. We'd love to see you around.
Josh, you're up.
Okay, so yes, as a reminder, my name is Josh or J-Side from Genshin Guys podcast, and you can find me on Twitter at J-Side Gaming, and you can find our podcast at Genshin Guys Pod, as well as our website www.genshinguys.com, and I also stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/J-Side, so come on by and say hi.
And I'm Fiends again from Tales of Teyvat Genshin Lore Podcast. You can find us at talesoftevat.com, where we actually make a lore sheet for every episode we do in case you need any visual or video help. We also are on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, and Twitter, Tales of Teyvat. You can also find us on YouTube, Tales of Teyvat Pod. We do not have the awesome graphics, though, that Beefy and the Shade Chamber have. But we do put them up there just so people have the accessibility of it all. And then we're on Spotify, Apple, RIP Stitcher, and wherever else you can listen.
Sweet deal. I'm your host, Dalton. I am one of the 3 co-hosts that I have on my show, The Resonance, a weekly Genshin Impact podcast. You can listen to our show on Twitter, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I mean, sure, you can listen on Twitter, I guess. The link's somewhere on there. But we are on Twitter at HoYoCast. Also on Twitch, so I stream on Twitch at HoYoCast as well. One of my co-hosts is at ThatRanman if you want to watch his Twitch streams as well. Discord.me/The Resonance if you want to join the Discord. Our community's great. Everybody lends a helping hand in there. You can post pictures of your pets, and we have a wish simulator. I'm trying to think of anything else. Oh, one more thing. My other co-host has another podcast. It's not Genshin related, but if you like anything related to League of Legends lore, he's a League of Legends lore nut, and they cover the hit Netflix show Arcane, and they interview a bunch of voice actors like Mick Wingert and a bunch of other producers and directors from that show. And I know it's getting a season 2, so they're going to be booting that back up whenever that comes around. So if you guys could check that out, that'd be great.
Awesome.
Right on.
Other than that, that has been an episode of, what is this called? Over My Dead Body.
Yes.
Wait, is that what we're calling it?
when the 4 yes.
It wasn't the Genshin Pod Summit or something?
Over My Dead Body, a Genshin Podcast Summit, when the 4 delegates of the different Genshin podcasts come together over Rosie's corpse, share a glass of wine, a couple stories, and talk about how the game's going.
And hope not to get her ashes in your drink.
Oh no, that's a feature. Spicy.
The spicy marks.
Now we all have an obligation to say 3 words right now as we say goodbye. Do we know what they all are without telling each other?
I hope so. Maybe.
I think
Ad
so.
like Ad Astra.
I was gonna say
Ad
thank.
Astra have a sauce.
I was gonna say
What's
thank
the
you,
sound?
Rosie. Yeah.
Yeah.